Good evening to everybody. Thank you for joining this session. And hopefully, you and I together, we're going to unravel the magic of compounding and pick up some life lessons along the way on how we can make our money grow, how we can be wealthy, healthy, wealthy, and wise 2025 motto. So, without further ado, thank you so much, Anova, for having me and for that very detailed introduction. To cut a long story short, I'm an investment banker who became a professor. So, from earning lots of money, I earn not so much money. And I am the best person to tell you how to keep earning lots of money when you don't have that much money. Okay, so let's start today's session. Um, at any point, if anyone has any questions, I know you're not allowed to unmute, so you can put it in the chat box. We will have questions at the end if the session so provides. So now we're always talking about investing early, and a lot of people say that, I've just started my career. What will I invest with this small salary that I have? Like, how will I manage to invest? Should I invest at all? Should I just wait till my 30s when, I'm making more money and then should I invest? There are a lot of misconceptions, fears, and different thought processes around money, finance, and a lot of things we don't discuss or talk about. Now, I know a lot of you are still at work and you're listening to this on your headset. Maybe you can see me, maybe you can't, but as much as interactive as you make this, I'm a better professor. So keep it interactive if you can, have your cameras on. That would be amazing. If not, that's fine. Let's jump into today's session. So why do we need finance and why, I'm sure there are things on the screen just now that you can all see and you all can all identify as between these, there is definitely something that you want. Maybe it is to prepare for your health. Maybe it is to prepare for your wedding. Maybe it is to prepare for your child's wedding. Maybe for, buying a new car, buying a house, maybe getting children educated, maybe further education for yourself, going on a short trip, going on a family holiday, thinking about when you become old, thinking about retirement. I'm sure on this screen there is something for everybody, right? We all have needs and wants, and we all want to understand that how do we fulfill these needs and wants? And what is the secret formula, right? Everybody wants to know what is the secret formula to being rich? What is the secret formula to getting rich forever? And the secret is doing something about it today. So, financial planning simply means that you're looking into the future and you're thinking, okay, I want this in the future. Let me do something about it today. Let me do something about it now. That's what financial planning is all about. So, if you were to ever go to a financial, the first thing any financial planner will ask you is, Mr. So and so, what is your dream? What is your aspiration? And at that point, you're thinking, I'm going to him to tell me what to invest in. That's what the session should be about. Why is he asking me about hopes and dreams and, what I want from my life? Because ultimately, we're going to use the money we have to achieve those dreams. So when we invest, when we plan our money, we must plan it keeping those things in mind. So first and foremost, if I tell you today, chalo, leave your house and get into the car, what is the first question you're going to ask me? Where do you want to go? Right? You're not just going to sit in the car and start driving. You want some destination. You want to reach somewhere. So similarly, in finance, in investing, one of the first things we need to do is know where we want to go. Where is our goal? Where is it that we want to reach? So let's think of our goals now in three ways: short term goals, medium term goals, and long term goals. And remember, let's be realistic. Even I would like, a chartered flight every now and then, but realistically, is that possible in my life? Probably not. Do I want it? Yes. Will it come in my goals? Probably not. So let's think from a short term perspective. So within the next 1 year, what are things you want to buy, want to go to, want to achieve? It could be a holiday, it could be maybe you have a major expense. You've used the same phone for 5 years. Maybe you want to buy a new phone, you want to upgrade your phone. Or maybe, you've not gone on a holiday with your family for a long time, and now you're saying, okay, mom, dad, let's go for a holiday. So within the short term, think of what your goals are and think of them in few ways. Think of in how much time do you want this goal to happen? think how much money is going to be required. So if you have a phone you want to buy in mind, think of, okay, this phone is going to cost me this much, or this holiday is going to cost me this much. So think of that in terms of money and time. Think of your goals in terms of time and money. So let's go now to the medium term. So medium term is anything between now and, let's say, 5 years. So in the next 5 years, what do we want? Maybe we want to get married. Maybe we want to have a child. Maybe our child is already born and is going to start school in the next 5 years. That's my case. Then we have long-term goals, which are longer than a year. Longer than a year is always retirement. On everyone's roster, retirement should always be a goal. It could be children's marriage. So it could be that, you have grown children, they want to get married. It could be that, you want to do a world tour. That could be on your list, saying when I become 50, I want to do a world tour. Whatever is going to bring you joy and whatever you really want to achieve, put it down there. And I'll tell you why. Because once we've laid out what our goals will be, we will plan our money according to these goals. Now imagine today, if you have a short-term goal saying you want to buy a phone, but then you go and invest that money in a mutual fund, which goes into the stock market. And then 4 days later, the stock market crashes. Then where's the money gone for that phone? It's gone, right? So we have to think that, okay, if we're investing for the short term, we will not put it in a risky investment. We'll put it in an investment that will mature in the short term and still give us some return. If you're looking at a long-term perspective, we're looking at retirement, then can we put it in the stock market? Yes, because we have forever to wait till we have to take that money back out. So think of your goals in terms of short-term, medium-term, long-term. Put money values, put time values, and then I'm going to tell you what to do. So once we have our goals set, what is our next step? Our next step is to get wealthy, right? So how do we start investing or saving towards our goals? Now I've made a little graph, okay? So first and foremost, we earn, right? We start early and we earn. From the amount we're earning, we have to save some and spend some. See, we have to spend, right? We have needs and wants. When we think of how much we're saving, we should try to save at least 20%. That is what the 50-20-30 rule says. We should try to save 20%. If we can't, it's okay. We'll get there. We'll understand how to reach there. Someone like me now, my needs are taken care of mostly by my husband because he also works. So I only spend money on wants. So I try that I save more than 20%. I try to save 50-80% of my salary, my income. So decide now how much can you save and be little bit diligent. Because the minute you start saving, that's when that saving is going to go into investing. And when that money goes into investing, you will see how wealth is generated through compounding. So I'm talking about compounding now. And what is compounding and why am I so obsessed with starting early? Why is it so important? So let's look at this chart. Now, can you see the purple and the yellow? The yellow is our principal, means our investments. Okay. So yellow is our deposits. What is purple then? Purple is compound interest. Purple is earning interest on interest on interest. So it is what you can see in the short term, the yellow is a lot, right? And the interest is a lot less. But if you look at a long-term horizon, look at 30 years, look at 40 years, can you see how much exponentially the purple has grown, even though the deposits still are increasing by that same amount? So investing or compounding or wealth generation is not something that will happen overnight. You won't go from zero to hero. But it does take time, and the best part is compound interest kicks in only in the long term. It does not kick in the short term. So we must think from a long-term perspective when we are thinking about saving and investing. So now compounding, and we all know this man over here. His name is Albert Einstein. I'm sure everybody in this room knows his name. What did he say about compound interest? So he said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. We know there are 7 wonders. Compound interest is the 8th. And he said something very profound. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. So here we're thinking about earning versus paying. When do we earn interest? We earn interest from our investments. When do we pay interest? We pay interest from our loans, from our debt, from our borrowings. So Albert Einstein's telling us that, hey, listen, if you're earning it, it's amazing. But if you're paying it, that's not going to be very good. And let's see why. So why should we start early? And what is the funda of that? So there's this investor, okay, investor A. He is investing 10,000 rupees and he's investing it at 8%. The reason I picked 8% is it's a good average, fixed deposit interest rate. And he's investing this for 30 years. And this, after 30 years, you can see after 30 years, he's put his principal as 10,000 rupees. It has grown to 90,000 in terms of interest. So 10 plus 90, he gets 1 lakh rupees, a little more than 1 lakh rupees after 30 years by investing only 10,000. So imagine if I had put 10,000 rupees at 8% when I was 15 years old. When I'm 45 years old, it becomes 1 lakh. Now you change the zeros and you understand what is happening. Now let's take another man. He didn't do it when this man did it at 15. He did it later, 10 years later, when he was 25 years old. He said, now I'm earning money, now I will invest a little bit. So this investor put 10,000 at 8%, but 10 years after investor A. So he didn't put it for 30 years, he put it only for 20 years. Okay, so same thing. Principal amount 10,000. But now can you see the interest? It's only 36,000. So the total amount is only 46,000. Imagine that 10 years extra, 10 years early has made such a difference. It has almost doubled the figure. So starting early is very, very important when it comes to investing. Now look at this chart. It's looking a little complicated, but if you look at it vertically, these are the number of years. And if you look at it horizontally, this is the interest rate. So if we look at, let's say, on a long-term horizon, in 33 years, and we take the lowest interest rate, 5%, our wealth will double, triple, no, our wealth will become 5 times. So 100 rupees will become 500 rupees. So similarly, if we look at a 10-year horizon and we have a 5% interest rate, our wealth will double, will become 2 times. So 100 will become 200. So this chart is very useful because we're going to think about, okay, if we are investing in something safe, we get between 5 and 8%. Look at the amount of time it's going to take for us to earn 10 times the amount. At 8%, it takes us, as we saw in the example just now, that it takes 30 years for it to become 10 times. But if we invest in something riskier, let's say 12% to 15% to 18%, in 30 years, that same amount can be something like 66 times at 50%. So 1 lakh can become 66 lakhs. The whole and the main thing of this is time. And the second part is the interest rate. So compounding is we need to understand that when we are investing, this interest rate plays a very important role. And how do we get high interest rates? So if someone says, give me your money, I will double it and give you in 1 year. Don't give him your money. Why? Because that's too good to be true. We must understand the concept of risk and return. So high risk, high return. So if someone's doubling your money, basically giving you 100% return in 1 year, then the risk must be very high because the return is very high. Similarly, low risk, low return. So if you're getting 5% return, 6% return, your FD is giving you 7.5% return, low risk, low return. High risk, high return. So if ever you are being offered high risk, high return, you know it's high risk. So moving on, let's do some simple maths just to make it fun. Rule of 72. When you want to know how long it's going to take to double your money, take 72 and divide it by the rate of return. So let's say the rate of return is 12%. So 72 divided by 12 is 6. So it will take 6 years for your money to double. So if you come here and see, it will take 6 years at 12% for the money to double. Here, somewhere here. So moving on. Now, last time I'm going to advocate for financial planning for the long term. Today, when we work, so earlier, do you know what the old retirement age used to be? It used to be 52, then they made it 55, then they made it 58. Now the retirement age has become 60. The government is in talks that should we make the retirement age 70, because people are living longer, people are working. So why is it that we're living longer? Because of better healthcare, because of progress in science. But you know what the risk of living longer is? We need our money to last while we are alive. Earlier, when people used to pass away in 50s and 60s, they were passing away earlier. Now we're living longer. We're living till 90, we're living till 100. So if the life expectancy is increasing, we need our money also to stay till we are 100. Living longer means we need that stable income for the long term. So we can't wait ki, okay, when we're 60, we'll think of retirement, or when we're 30, we'll think of 40, we're thinking of retirement. We have to start thinking of retirement in our 20s and 30s, because we're living that much longer. We want to maintain our lifestyle. Now, today, if you're used to a certain lifestyle, you're used to a certain OTT platform, you're used to going out and eating somewhere. After you stop working, do you want to give all that up in your golden years? No, you want to continue that life. You want to be able to do all the same things you are doing later that you are doing now. Also, along the way, emergencies happen, unexpected things happen. Like, for example, a hospitalization can happen, an accident can happen, a medical emergency can happen, a job loss can happen. There are so many things that can happen unexpectedly. So we must think about the long term, because we don't want to outlive our savings. We don't want to be dependent on someone else, be it our family, be it government. Then inflation. What is inflation? Can anyone tell me what is inflation? A simple way of explaining inflation is, almost 30 years ago, when I was in school and I went and bought a samosa. That samosa was so big and it cost 5 rupees. Now, today, if I go and visit my school and I try to buy a samosa, the samosa is going to be so small and it's going to cost 25 to 30 rupees. So, that is inflation. Things are becoming more expensive and the value of money is falling. What I could buy today with 100 rupees, I can't buy tomorrow. It's not going to be worth 100 anymore. It's going to become more expensive. Which is why a lot of people say कि oh, you know, मैं पैसा जमा करके रख रहा हूँ. I'm keeping money saved up. And I'm going to keep it so safely that when I'm thinking of retiring, I'm going to use that money. But the problem with that is that if you're keeping that money safely, the money is not growing. If the money doesn't grow, it's not going to buy the same things today in the future that you can buy today. Today, if I can buy, you know, with 200 rupees, let's say I can buy, you know, 1 kilo apple. Then after maybe 10 years, I'll need 300 rupees for the same thing, maybe 350 rupees for the same thing. But if that 200 rupees has stayed 200 rupees, then I won't get the same thing. So we need to think about inflation. Things are going to become more expensive. Our money is going to lose value. So we need our money to grow with inflation. So if inflation today is 5%, 6%, we need our money to grow more than that, faster than that. And for those who are not making their money grow at all, you all are going to be in trouble. So think about it. So starting late is not good. We definitely must start early. I think I've convinced everyone. Now let's look at certain things that you all were thinking about when you'll join this webinar, which is, what are the investments available, right? What is the kind of investment that I can do based on myself? So here you can see debt investment graph and one is an equity investment graph. You can see in this graph it is stable, it is flat. There's no up and down. It's guaranteed, it's safe. This is something like an FD. FD is saying you give me 100 rupees, okay, I'll give you 7% after 1 year. So after 1 year, 100 rupees will become 107 rupees. Guaranteed, no problem, no doubts. You'll get 7 rupees extra back. Is that good? It's nice to be safe, but remember, low risk, low return. Why do we call it a debt investment? Because debts are like loans. We're in a way giving a loan to the bank. We're saying you are giving you a loan and they're paying us the interest with the principal at the end. Other examples of debt investment would be anything that's giving you a fixed return. So if your bond is giving you a fixed return, it is a debt investment. Then we come to equity investment. See the graph. Sometimes it's gone below the line, means it's become negative, means you're even losing money. Forget just earning money. Okay, there's no guarantee. Anything can happen. It can go up, it can go down, it can become 10 times, it can become minus 10 times. Anything can happen. That is equity investment. Now here we're thinking of high risk, high return. Okay, so I'm going to give you all some examples of both these products. So we have guaranteed return. So we have our fixed deposits, post office schemes, PPF, recurring deposit, bonds. These are all guaranteed return. Very safe, very nice. But on the long term, they will not help you generate wealth. Why? Because of low risk, low return. Now let's look at the non-guaranteed side. So let's look at equity, gold, commodity, real estate, ULIP. All of these have no guarantee. Why? Because gold can become anything. When I was getting married, gold was maybe 1/3 in price what it is now. It's crazy. In so much time, gold has appreciated so much, especially in the last 5-6 years. Look at commodity prices, right? Crude oil is a commodity. So oil is a commodity. Any metal is a commodity. Real estate. Real estate has booms and falls, booms and falls. We have ULIPs. So ULIPs are basically unit-linked insurance plans. What does that mean? You get insurance also and you get the investment also, and it's clubbed together. I don't like ULIPs personally. Why do I not like ULIPs? Because a lot of people come to me for guidance and they say, which ULIP should I buy? I ask them, you understand what is there in your insurance policy? They say, no, we don't understand it. We have insurance. जब time आएगा तब देखेंगे. I said, ULIP is insurance plus investment. So if you're not understanding insurance, then how will you understand insurance plus investment inside it, right? And there's the matter of fees and all of that. So I personally don't like or advocate for ULIPs, but I really do like equity. What is equity? When someone says, I have equity in your business, I have ownership in your business. Equity is taking ownership. So when we say, oh, we're investing in the stock market, if you think about it, you're becoming owners of these companies. You're buying shares of these companies, which means if anything good happens in the company, it's your benefit. If anything bad happens in the company, it's your loss because you're an owner. All good and bad both come to you. Okay. So in equity also, there are two ways to invest. We can directly open a demat account and we can buy shares. We can buy individual shares of Falana company, individual shares, XYZ, ABC. Or we can invest via a mutual fund. What is a mutual fund? Mutual means all of us together mutually are investing in a fund. Fund is like a pot. So we're all putting our money in that pot, and then we have a dedicated manager of that pot. He's smart. He studied finance, he knows what he's doing. He takes that money from the pot and then he buys shares in the market. So that way we don't have to choose, we don't have to think about what shares to buy. We just need to know which pot to put our money in. So that is a mutual fund. So mutual fund is basically a way to invest in the stock market for people who don't have knowledge of individual stocks. They don't know which one to pick, when to buy, when to sell. So they give their money in the pot. Then the manager of the pot manages their money. So we have equity, we have gold. So gold you can buy physical, you can buy electronic, you can buy a mutual fund. Nowadays we have a new thing called ETF, exchange traded fund. So we can buy it in that. Then in commodity today, we don't have any mutual fund in India. We have in the US, and hopefully in India it will come soon. We do have exchange traded funds in silver and in gold. So why am I telling you all this? I'm trying to tell you that the universe for investments is a lot. We should think of it in two categories, guaranteed and non-guaranteed. And we should make sure that our money is in both. Now, based on your age, so let's say I am 40 years old. If I am 40, I do 100 minus 40, which is 60. So 60% I put in the risky one, which is not guaranteed. And 40 I put in the FD. Right. Someone else may say, oh, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, I'm going to put 90% in non-guaranteed because I don't have any responsibilities, I'm not married, I'm putting 90% in non-guaranteed and 10% in guaranteed. There may be someone else who's 60 or 70 who says, listen, I worked really hard for this money. I cannot, have it being risked. So I'm going to put 35% in non-guaranteed. The remaining 65, I want somewhere safe, somewhere guaranteed. So we must think of investing based on our risk appetite, but we must diversify in both guaranteed and non-guaranteed. Now, how many should we have from each column? Maybe 1 to 3. So we must never over diversify. ये नहीं कि मेरा fixed deposit भी है, bond भी है, post office scheme भी है, PPF भी है, gold भी है, real estate भी है, equity भी है, ULIP भी है. You will find it very hard to track so many things. So maybe 2 or 3 things is good enough. Because even within those 2 and 3 things, like if you have mutual fund, you won't invest all in one mutual fund. You'll have 2 to 3 mutual funds. So let's think of our investments as guaranteed, non-guaranteed based on our risk. Apart from our risk, what are the other things we should keep in mind? Inflation. So today, if the economy has inflation of 5 or 6%, we cannot invest in something that's giving us 5 and 6%. It has to be more. Then we need to think of liquidity. Now, why liquidity? Coming back to our goals. Remember, we had the goal of buying a new phone this year. Now, if I invest in a mutual fund that has a 5-year lock-in or a 3-year lock-in, like ELSS mutual fund for tax benefit has a 3-year lock-in. If I'm investing my money there, then I can't get that money to buy a phone this year. I can only get that money for my medium-term goals. So liquidity plays a very important role in deciding what type of investment to make. Then we have tax benefit. Now, tax benefit also today depends on the new regime, old regime. Let's say we are in the old regime. Then maybe we invest in NPS. We have 2 reasons for that. 1, long-term goal of retirement. 2, tax benefit. Then we also have risk appetite. Now, I may be a very risk-averse investor. I may say that, listen, I don't trust the stock market. I know lots of people who have lost money. I don't want to do that. So I'm very risk-averse. So I want low risk. So I have to be okay then with low returns. And finally, we come to diversification, which is, again, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but don't put your eggs in so many baskets also that you lose track of them. We must know overall what our position in life is, where all our money is. So a lot of people ask me this question, which investment is best for my kid's future? I have a child, he's 5 years old. I'm now putting him in school. Now I'm thinking I should put some money for him. What would my answer be? My answer would be any. The trick is to start as early as possible. I'll tell you my own story. I had a daughter last year and now she's 1. And as soon as she was born, the day she was born, my husband made her Aadhaar card, made her PAN card and opened all her accounts. So he opened Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. He said she has to have one government scheme. He put some money in the stock market, equity. He said this mutual fund I have to put for her when she's 25 years old. बहुत काम आएगा, 10-12% मिलेगा at least annually. So the trick is to start early because remember the power of compounding. The earlier you start, the more chance you're giving your money to multiply. Another thing I want to show you, which is not on this presentation. So I'm going to open a new tab and hopefully you can see it. And here I'm going to type Nifty 50. What is the Nifty 50? It is the top 50 companies listed on the National Stock Exchange. Now, what do I want to show this to you for? Today, we are seeing it fell 162 points, 0.69%. So today it fell, not a good day. Let's look at it on a 1-year horizon. On a 1-year horizon, it has gone up 9.2%, right? So it's already beaten any FD in 1 year. Let's look at it in 5 years. In 5 years, it has gone up 91%. Means what? You've doubled your money in 5 years, yes? What about from the beginning? So when it started in 1990, 2000s, in these 25 years, it has gone up 25,000 times. 2,500% it has gone up. So what does that tell us? That on a long-term horizon, you're going to be okay if you invest in the non-guaranteed return. Of course, if you invest at this point, 14th Feb 2020, when it's at 12,000, then 1 month later, you're like, Arey, I bought it at 12,000, now it's at 8,600. मेरा तो बहुत नुकसान हो गया, मेरा तो 40% गिर गया. Big problems have happened. But if you just relax and hold on for 1 year, you'll see that not even in the next 2 years, your money has already become 1.5. It's already gone up so much. And it is going to go down, it's going to go up. What falls must go up, what goes up must go down. Remember, if the quality is there. So, this is to answer any questions on, but in the short term. What in the short term? In the short term, we definitely should look at debt and not at equity. It is an instrument for high risk. It can be used in the short term for people who are okay with the risk. So, coming back. Now, let's talk a little bit about women, right? So, for women, what are good places to save our money? PPF, FD, gold, the safe ones. Senior Citizen Savings Scheme. So, this is a very nice scheme. Once you're a senior citizen, you can invest in this scheme up to 30 lakhs, and every quarter they'll give you a return. And the interest rate is very good, it's 8.2%. PPF, we know for 15 years your money is locked away. But remember, after 15 years, you have an option to extend by 5 years. And you should extend it. Why? Because remember, compounding doesn't work in the short term. It's in the long term that it actually works. So whenever you do have a PPF and you don't need the money, don't break it. Keep extending it. And then we obviously have stocks. Similarly for kids, Sukanya Samriddhi is for a girl child. PPF, boys can also do. It's like Sukanya. They both have tax benefits. On maturity, it is tax free. And then, of course, there are mutual funds for kids as well. So, finally, towards the end of discussing these investments, I want to talk about SIP. Because SIP is something हमने सब सुना है, सब कोई लोग करते भी हैं. We've, some of us do it as well. But what is SIP really? What is it doing for us? SIP is ensuring that little bit of money every month in a disciplined manner gets invested. See, SIP stands for Systematic Investment Plan. So what do we have to do? Every month we choose a day, let's say the 5th of every month or the 10th of every month. We choose an amount, can be as little as 5,000 rupees, 6,000 rupees, and we choose a mutual fund by going to invest it in. So let's say we invested in the Nifty 50 mutual fund. So every month, automatically from our account on the 10th of the month, 5,000 rupees will get cut and it will go into that. Now, here your question is probably, what if my account doesn't have 5,000 rupees? Like, what if there's no balance in the account and the demand for the money comes? I say, kuch koi baat nahi, it will just skip that month. There's no problem. The good thing here is that you don't have to remember to invest. And here the timing, ki market high hai, low hai, none of that matters because it's happening at the same time. So you end up averaging. Sometimes you'll invest at the high, sometimes you'll invest at the low. But the main thing is you'll invest and you won't realize you're investing. See, if we invest 5,000 rupees every month, 5 12s are 60. We've invested 60,000 without realizing. So, when do SIPs work the best? 3 years minimum when you're investing in the equity markets. Sometimes it's good to invest in SIP because you may not ever invest thinking, array, it's too high, it's too high. In a bull phase, maybe the SIP will not work, but in the bear phase, it will always work. And let's now do some calculations to understand this PPF versus equity versus, how do we calculate returns? We're talking about wealth, we're talking about the magic of compounding. But we should know how to do it, right? How do we do this compounding? So let's, this presentation you will get, but let's do a simple thing. Let's Google compound interest with monthly contribution formula. Simple. So we want Google to tell us how much we're investing, right? So let's use a compound interest calculator. So compound interest calculator. Let's use this one. It's very easy. So you can go on Google, you can type that and you will get your compound interest calculator. Now let's do a simple thing. Let's say every year we invest 60,000. Why? 5,000 rupees a month. So let's say we invest 60,000 every year. And let's say we put it in an FD. So FD will give us, let's say, 7.15%. And let's say we're looking at a 5-year horizon. Let's not be too fancy. So we're investing 60,000, we're investing it for 5 years. The interest that we earn is 24,000 and our money becomes 84,000. Nice, not bad. FD. Now let's look at investing in our equity markets. Let's look at mutual funds. So if you don't believe me, let's just look at what the returns of mutual funds are. Now, I believe that if we practically see something, we'll believe it. Me telling it to you is good, but it's not as good as actually seeing returns, right? So let's look at some mutual fund returns. So I've gone on Moneycontrol. You can go on any stock market or financial app and you can understand this. So let's go to mutual funds. Let's go to performance tracker because that's going to tell us returns. And let's look 50-50. So a large cap. Okay, so we can see this 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, not been good. But look at 1 year. Look at 2 years. Look at even 3 years average returns. Pretty good, right? I think I can safely say that even if I take 15%, it is a good average of the numbers over here. So let's take an average of 15%. Our 60,000 now, with 15%, in that same 5-year horizon, can you see our money has doubled? So the interest rate actually makes a really good option. If I take 60,000, I'm putting it now in a mutual fund for 5 years. I'm getting 60,000. Let's look at some risky mutual funds. So right now we're looking at large cap, safe. Large cap means the company is a very big company. So the chances of things going wrong are lower. Now let's go to a small cap, means a small company. Chances of going wrong, things getting messed up, larger. So let's go to small cap now and let's see what the returns are. So let's see now, what are the returns over a 1 year, 2 year, 10-year horizon. So in 1 year, we can see 30, 40, 18, 20, 30. 2 years also 30, 40. 3 years also pretty high returns, 18, 20, 22. 5 years also we can see average is 30, 33. So 5 years, can I say my average return over here? 28, 38, 31, 30, 35. Can I say an average is a 30% return is not so crazy? Let's be conservative. Let's do 25. Chalo. Can we see our money, which is 60,000, has now tripled and become 1,83,000. And this is in a mere 5 years. Let's change the duration now. Let's say we're doing this every year. We're not putting in more money. This is the original money. We're leaving that original money in for 30 years. 60,000 simply put in one mutual small cap fund for 30 years will give us 5 lakhs. 60,000 has become 5 lakhs. Imagine now if you were putting in extra money. So let's try that now. Let's do an SIP calculator. So monthly investments. So let's say we're putting 5,000, 12%, 10 years. So we're putting 5,000 every month and we're doing this for 10 years, mind you. It's 60,000 into 10. So 6 lakhs is our investment. Pata hi nahi chala. It has almost doubled to give us 11 lakhs in a 10-year time frame. We're doing it in a small cap. Let's say we're putting it in a risky place. We can expect slightly higher returns. This is what we can achieve in a 10-year horizon. Let's take the horizon a little lower. Let's maybe make it a 5-year horizon. Even in a 5-year horizon, our money has doubled, right? If we get exponential returns, our money can more than double. We get average returns, we've still earned 30%. 3 lakhs has become 4 lakhs. 1 full lakh is investments. Let's look at FD. So let's put 7.15%. We're putting a recurring FD. So monthly we're putting 5,000. Time period. Let's go long. 20 years. So recurring FD 5,000 for 20 years, we are investing 12 lakhs. And that 12 lakhs is becoming 26 lakhs in 20 years, mind you. So if I'm 20, I will get it when I'm 40. Same thing if I put in a mutual fund or when I put it in the market. Remember, this is high risk, high return, huh? Let's say 15 years, 15%. That 12 has now become 75. That can really change your story in 20 years. So to cut a long story short, investing is very, very important. Where we invest is very important. At what rate we invest is very important. But most of all is our risk appetite. Never do something you're not comfortable with. A lot of people don't understand the fact that, you know what, I'm not okay with this. It's giving me sleepless nights. Then don't do it. Always start small. So if you're a new investor to the stock market, you've never done this before, don't invest a princely sum. Invest little bit. Whatever you think, कि चलो आज मैं बाहर नहीं खाऊंगा, that money which I would have spent 1,000 rupees on eating out, 2,000 rupees on eating out, I'm going to invest that money and see what happens. Do that. See what happens. Learn from it. Start slow, but start. A lot of people make the mistake of not starting at all. At my previous workplace, everyone knew me as, that one person who would always hound them. The minute I knew someone has had a child, I would say, come on, open an account for them. Start investing for them. Whether you choose to give them the money or not, whether they're worthy of it, whether all of that is secondary. Start doing it because ultimately you're saving up for their education, for their marriage. You're giving them the best life you could have had. Okay. So with that, I have one more calculator, which is an EMI calculator, which is the same as SIP. Because here, the only thing I wanted to drive home was if we save, so let's say we want to buy a gadget for 1 lakh. And there are two options. We can take a personal loan, which nowadays a lot of young people are just clicking on the EMI button for, 5,000 rupee discount, but they're not realizing how much more they're paying. Or if you're saving for it every month, so you're keeping your money in an FD or you're making a recurring deposit where you say, okay, I'm going to save, 10,000 every month for 10 months and I'm going to get that 1 lakh rupees. So if you do that, you won't pay any interest. Or to EMI, monthly EMI, you're going to pay this much extra. And while this doesn't seem like a lot, it all adds up. You do it 2-3 times, you're finally ending up paying 10, 20, 30,000 in interest, which you really didn't need to do. So that was the last thing I wanted to say before we opened up the session for questions. You all have been a very, very good audience. I have one question already in the chat box, which I'm going to address now. So, Vivek Nagpal, for your child's higher education plus his marriage, is SIP the best investment option I can start with? Absolutely, Vivek. So if you feel right now you don't have a lump sum you want to put, then you definitely should start an SIP. There are different kinds of mutual funds. There's child-specific mutual funds as well. So if you were to go onto this screen, you could look at solution-oriented, where there are a bunch of children's funds. But the main thing with children's funds is then they also put a money in some safe instruments. So obviously your returns are good, but they're not exponential. They're average, 12, 13%. Maybe you want to think high risk, high return because you have a long time frame. SIP is a very good place to start. Can I shed some light on SWPs? Are they a good idea? So what is SWP? SWP stands for Systematic Withdrawal Plan. What does that mean? Basically means it is for somebody who has made investments and now wants to take that money out to use that money. You want to spend that money, or you want to take out that money and put it in a different investment. So it's simply like how every month you're putting in money in an SIP, 5,000 is going from your account into the fund every month. SWP is the ulta. The money gets sold, your units get sold, and the money comes into your account. So is it a good idea? You'd only do it if you need the money. My suggestion would be leave the money in if you don't need it. Can you briefly explain all of these? Ayushi says. Small, mid, medium. Ayushi, in what context is this? Are you talking about small cap, mid cap, large cap, or are you talking about time frames? Tajendra says, hi, can we start SIP equity for child? Absolutely, you can. So, in fact, when you buy a mutual fund, you can even buy it for the minor. So then the minor can take control of it when they turn 18. Alternatively, what you can do is, what I do sometimes is, instead of going through the hassle of creating a separate account for them, you can invest on your own, and in your mind, you know that this money in this account is for my child. So maybe you've not legally put it in your child's name, but in your mind, it's in your child's name. You can write that down and say, okay, these 3 mutual funds, I'm going to add to them every month this much, and this is for this person. So you can either put it legally in their name or just do it otherwise. Should we opt ULIP policy plans for kids' higher education? So Sheel, like I say, ULIP means insurance and investment. So I would not do that. I would do directly an SIP. 2 reasons. When you surrender your ULIP also, you have to look at the tax angle. If you have to break it early, and also the insurance angle. So you're paying for insurance that you may not end up using. So when anyone does any investment, the main thing I tell that person is that read. If you understand what you're investing in, if you're understanding the policy document, then only invest in it. If you're not understanding it, please don't invest in it, because most likely, when the time comes to withdraw it, that time also you will not understand. Now we have 9.5 interest on FD in small finance bank. Can I invest in that? Yes, you can. It's a good place to invest. A lot of times people are a little cautious about investing in smaller banks because of various scams and controversies, but up to a certain amount, your money is protected. Also, remember, in an FD, there is always that tax angle. So when you get your interest at the end of the period, it will be taxable. So maybe you want to look at non-taxable options as well, but it's a good option to start with. If you're risk averse, Money Mohan, and you want to start somewhere, then yes. So Ayushi wants to know what is mid cap, small cap, and large cap. So cap means capitalization. Capitalization means the size of the company. Mathematically, it is the number of shares the company has into the price per share. So if the company has 10 shares and the price of each share is 50 rupees, then the market cap of that company is 500 rupees. So number of shares into price of each share, that is capitalization. Now, based on the capitalization, we classify companies. So companies that have a capitalization of less than 5,000 crores are small caps. They're small companies. Then 5,000 to 20,000 crores, we classify them as mid caps. And then greater than 20,000 crores, we classify them as large caps. So that is the cap system. Now, logically, which is the safest? The biggest company, right? Because it has more resources, it's bigger in size, it has less things that can go wrong in terms of, it has the firepower, the money power to solve its problems. Small caps are smaller. They have smaller balance sheets, smaller firepower. So obviously they're riskier. So if you think of high risk, high return, you understand that small caps will be riskier and large caps will be less risky. And then when we're thinking of time frame, Ayushi, we think of less than 1 year. So that's short term. Medium term is something like up to 5 years. So 1 year to 5 years, 1 year to 7 years. And then long term is anything longer than 5 years. A lot of people tell me medium term, but now I've changed my mind. It's absolutely fine. You can absolutely change your mind, because most investments, when we think of a medium term, they are interchangeable amongst goals. We can change our mind. That's fine. Okay, then we have Karthik. He says, can we open Demat account for 3-year kid and how the tax part works? Okay, so you cannot open an account in that kid's name. However, you can open an account for the kid controlled by the parent. So the tax would actually be yours. So in my case, what I've done is I have my Demat account in one place and I've opened a separate Demat account for my daughter. That Demat account is also in my name only. The taxation is on me. So when I buy and sell shares, I make profit, I pay the tax as personal tax because her income will anyways get clubbed with me. But I've opened that separately so that I know that, okay, that amount is for her. See, till the kid is 18, their money gets, their finances get clubbed with the parent who has the higher ITR. So if you think your partner has a higher ITR, you can open that account in your name. That way, the tax liability will be on you rather than that person. Which one is good? Active fund or passive fund? Eswar Prasad is asking. So, an active fund is when your fund manager is actively buying and choosing stocks. Passive fund is when it is pre-decided. Like Nifty 50 is passive because the list is there. The 50 companies are there. Usko zyada dimag nahi lagana hai. He has to follow those 50 companies. Right? So, which is good? Both are good. See, in passive fund, what is happening? It's following an index. It's following a preset idea. The good part is in a passive fund, the costs are lower and it follows the index. So it's pretty structured. In active, the fund manager plays an active role. So a lot of times it could be that, he's using his mind, he's using his brain, and he's choosing certain stocks. So both are good in their own ways. If you're a new investor, I would say start with a passive fund, start with a Nifty 50 fund. You'll get a hang of what's happening. And then you can move on to active investing. Now we have stock SIP. Is this good? Also, we have pre-listing stocks as well now. Is this also good? Okay. So stock SIP is good if you know which stocks you want to buy. If there are certain blue chip companies that you want to buy, that you want to accumulate over time, it's excellent. Like I'm trying to build a portfolio for my daughter in a Demat account, but I'm not doing SIP. I monitor the stock prices. The day something falls and it's at a good discount, I buy it. Okay, SIP is more for people who are not actively participating. So stock SIP, it's a good option if you want to accumulate a share over a very long term. Now, pre-listing stocks. Pre-listing stocks, again, if you have the information, you know how it works, you're well connected in the network, there's no harm in doing it. My main thing about any investment, my blanket rule, don't do something you don't understand. Don't do something just because your neighbor or friend is doing it. If you understand what you're doing, please go ahead and do it. If you've understood the risks and the returns. Okay, Shri Shell says, Madam, what is the best time to sell ESOPs? After or before listing, advantages and disadvantages. I feel like this is like a Google question, you could probably Google this. ESOPs best time to sell because they both do have, advantages and disadvantages. You have to also see your gestation period and things like that. Can you sell it? Then Narendra Kumar, which is good, term insurance or medical insurance? Now, both are different. See, term is life insurance and medical insurance is a must. Today, if anything happens to us, small surgery also, it costs so much money. So medical is absolutely important. Medical is for yourself. Term is when you die and it helps your family. So which is good, both are good. You have to have both. Okay. I am doing so Yagya tells me, I'm doing 5,000 SIP in Sukanya and 14,100 SIP diversified in different mutual funds like Parag, Parik 5,000, Quant Small Cap 2,500, Quant Mid Cap 2,000, Tata Digital Fund 2,000, Quant PSU Fund 1,000, and recently started Axis Gold Direct Plan 600. Please suggest if I need to make any changes. No, it's looking good. Well done. You're looking at Digital India, you're looking at public's PSU. I would only say track the PSU one properly because there are booms and spurts where it goes up and goes down. Axis Gold is really good, especially if you're a young person and eventually you may need that equivalent gold amount. So that's also good. It's a hedge against inflation. And the good thing is you put a small amount in it. So that's also good as well. So I would say keep it up. You're doing, very, very good. And the Sukanya, I'm guessing, is for your daughter. So that gold will also help. So that's also very good. So I think well done. Keep it up. Here, if you look at the diversification, you're doing 25% in debt and 75% in equity, which is very good. So you're a young person. Srinivas, what if I stop paying the SIP or PPF in the middle? Will I be losing the amount invested so far? No. So in SIP, it'll just stop. Your amount will stay invested and then you can remove it when you want. In PPF, you have to give a nominal amount. I think I'm not sure, it's either 50 or 100 rupees. You'll have to check annually to keep the account open. You don't want the account to freeze. You want the account to continue because then only the interest will be paid. So you have to put in a nominal amount every year. I don't know what that amount is. You'll have to Google it. I think it's it could be 500 also. Generally, if we go for SIP, many of my friends go with small, medium, and Nifty 50. But but of Okay, understood. So index is Nifty 50. So Nifty 50 is an index. An index is a group of stocks. So I'll just show you where you can find this information online. So if you go to Money Control, can you see this Indian indices? These are Indian indexes. You can either say indice or index. Indice is usually the plural. So these are all the index. So Nifty 50 is also an index. These are the 50 companies in that index. So these are all different kinds of indexes. And you can invest in all of these via the mutual fund route. So that is index. And ETF is also a mutual fund, but the only difference is that in an ETF, you need a demat account. So an ETF trades in the stock market, whereas in a mutual fund, you don't need a demat account. So are they similar? They are basically the same thing, except that a mutual fund is just the fund, and an ETF is basically like a share because you can trade it. Like I can buy it today, I can sell it tomorrow, I can buy it today, I can sell it in 6 months. So it's more liquid. You can see the current pricing. You can buy it in the morning, sell it in the evening, that kind of a thing. So it's still a basket, but it's more liquid. Whereas in a mutual fund, normally when you buy a mutual fund, I would say don't sell it for 3 years. There's exit load. There's all sorts of restrictions. But effectively, it's the same thing. It's just the matter of liquidity and where the medium of investing is. Is it demat or not demat? Can you please share the presentation and your email and any contact if possible? So I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share my contact, but if you Google me, Meenakshi Todi, the finance box, you will definitely find me. What is your opinion on NPS Vatsalya scheme, NPS for kids? So this is slightly controversial because so NPS is a retirement thing, right? Which basically means when you're 60, you'll get the money. So even if we put it for our kids, I was reading the rules today and it said that I would still have to make, like if I withdraw it at 18, I would still have to make an annuity of the amount. Like the lump sum amount, I will only get a certain proportion. I think it's 80-20 for 18-year-old withdrawals. So my problem with this is it's stuck in that scheme and I can't take it out till I'm 60. So if I'm, let's say, a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, and I'm doing NPS, or even a 30-year-old, I'm more comfortable knowing that it's for my retirement. For my child, I guess I could do it, but the real benefit for the child will be then if you don't remove it at 18. If then that child keeps that scheme till 60. It's a government scheme, so it's safe. I mean, the Indian government is not going anywhere for 60 years. Yes, their rules and regulations may change, but you should still have that money available for you for the next 60 years. Okay, Yagya, you're very welcome. Shubham says, amazing session. When is it going to upload? I think I'm going to have to pass it now on to Nova. Mr. Shiv, if you are around.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, that was some excellent session, I guess. So informative. You have answered a lot of questions, I guess. So
I
thank you
think
so much,
Mani,
Meenakshi. Yeah.
no problem. I think, are we going to close the session now? Because I think I see one last hand, Manish Kumar.
Sure. You can answer one more.
Manish, I think you're not allowed to unmute, so you will have to type
I,
your
I-
question.
I'll allow him to unmute. I'll allow. Just give me 1 second.
So I don't know how your participation usually is in these things, but I like to
Wait.
talk to my audience and I like them to talk back to me.
Sure, you could have told me earlier. I could have allowed everyone to like unmute themselves and talk to you.
But we
So
will
yeah,
definitely do it in the
sure, sure,
next
sure.
one.
We'll plan the next month. Manish, you can ask directly. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, Meenakshi, my one question is for you. Like, how compounding actually work when you talk about mutual fund or stocks?
So, here this is slightly tricky because it's not the traditional, 10% pay 10% pay 10%. But like I showed you in the graph, so let's go back to this graph. When we're thinking of stocks, let's say Nifty 50, okay? For me, compounding is I've left that money in and it is growing. The other thing to remember is this is only the price growth. Most companies, or at least the dividend paying ones, do pay dividend as well. So you have the high dividend paying stocks as well that would then not only grow like this, but also give you a dividend. The whole idea behind compounding is not the literal multiplication of it, but more so that if you leave your money in and not withdraw it, it tends to grow faster over time. Compounding, of course, is more valid for debt instruments because there you can actually see it in mathematical terms. Here, from the equity standpoint, it's more from leaving your money to grow as opposed to the actual mathematical calculation. I hope that helps.
Yeah, means like suppose this is the volatile thing. Like let's say I have a stock of 10 stocks and of 100 rupees right now, okay, or any mutual fund, let's say, and let's say 5 year back it was on a 50 rupees, and upcoming 5 year it again goes back to 50, and let's say company is not allowing any dividend into it, then how this compounding and early investment is gonna to help me in that case?
Sorry, say the last bit again. The company is not allowing?
I'm saying like the dividend concept is not there. Let's say a
Correct,
company is not giving dividend. Okay,
correct,
let's go with the index fund. Okay, so
correct.
5 year back, let's say the Nifty 50 itself, let's say at 8,000, it come to 24,000 now, and now 5 year upcoming 5 year, it is going again back to 8,000. Then what's the point of compounding or early investment in that case?
So, my answer to this is you're not God. So, you can't time the market. You don't know when it's going to go up and when it's going to go down. The sad part will be ki when you see it's gone up and then you put your money here, thinking, oh, now it's proven in itself, and then it falls. The only way you're going to catch it over here is if you put money in it from some point. And we are not so lucky to always put it at the lowest low and get it at the highest high. So we kind of need to leave it inside because we don't know when it's going to go down and when it's going to go up. Unless you know something I don't, then we need to talk separately.
No, nothing. I just like, I mean, so I'm curious about that one. As you can see, in a Corona time, it went to 8,000. Okay. And then now it is coming to something 24. Again, might it go to 8,000. I mean, it's like I'm getting this every time, like early investment is good, early investment is good. But like if ma market is so volatile and it is unpredictable, what is the point of putting
I'll give
money
you an
early?
example. So my sister, she started working at this public facing company uh, a year ago. So before she started working, she had some money saved up. So I said, okay, come, let's buy some stocks. So I made her buy, by chance, Indian Hotels, Greaves Cotton, and two other stocks. Now, when she started working, she was not allowed to operate her demat account, which basically meant that whatever she had bought was fine, but she could not buy or sell it. It was kind of stuck. If she wanted to sell it, she had to take special permission, but was not allowed to buy because she had insider information. She was public facing. So it so happens that today she's not sold anything. She's recently planning to quit her job. So she's saying, look at my portfolio now. When I leave the job, maybe I can sell something. Everything in that portfolio, barring one stock, everything in that portfolio has gone up 20, 30%. One stock has gone down. So on average, she has done well by not being able to sell it. When I bought those stocks for her, I bought those same stocks for myself, but I had no such restrictions. So when they went up, I sold them. That company, Indian Hotels, in her portfolio, the buying price is 250 rupees average. In my portfolio, the average buying price is 350, 400 rupees. And that has only happened because she's bought it so early and left it. So, of course, you can buy and sell, buy and sell. That's fine. People do that. They're called traders. So, you can choose your style of investing. You can be a trader, you can be an investor. I'm a bit of both. But the main thing here is you've put your money in something. You've not kept it under your pillow where it's not growing. I think that kind of answers what you're saying.